Hello and welcome to Sunday Night.
Tonight, a new and frightening asbestos epidemic.
Just when we thought the danger was over, hundreds of Australians are falling victim to a new wave, and they don't know why.
It's a massacre, and it's an ongoing massacre.
Asbestos-induced cancer is the worst industrial disaster in the world. We're getting a lot more people who say, I've never been exposed, I don't know why I have this cancer.
They just couldn't connect that someone so young could have what they were finding.
It's what you might call a new wave.
You had no reason at all to suspect that there was any danger in that house.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's killed our son.
To me, a speed limit of 110 kilometres an hour is not fast enough.
Mark Scaife tackles his critics about his plan to raise speed limits.
Reverse parks and three-point turns, they don't save lives.
With former world motorcycle champion Wayne Gardner.
I'm not scared of speed, that's not the issue. My whole life's been above 300 kilometres an hour.
It's all about saving lives.
Being able to control the car and drive the car properly will save lives.
With Ross Coulthart, Rani Sadler and Alex Cullen, this is Sunday Night. Now, here's Mike Munro and Chris Barth.
Also tonight, what all women need to know.
Yep, heart attacks. They are no longer an issue just for men.
I had chest pain, very cold, clammy. My whole body was in a state of shock.
Thought she would be the last person in the world that would have a heart attack.
A lot of the young women we operate on aren't overweight.
If it had been me who'd had the chest pains, both she and I would have been alarmed and thought of hearts.
Mum thought it was indigestion and now Mum's gone.
Heart disease is the #1 killer of women. It's just the best kept secret around.
First though, you might have thought the threat from asbestos had passed, but there's a mysterious new wave of victims. Many are young and most have no idea how they got contaminated. Tens of thousands of Australians will die. Experts are calling it potentially the worst environmental disaster in history, and any one of us could be at risk. Here's Ross Coulthart with this Sunday Night investigation.
Asbestos-induced cancer is the worst industrial disaster in the world and will kill more people than Bhopal and Chernobyl. We're getting a lot more people who say, I've never been exposed, I don't know why I have this cancer. It's what you might call a new wave.
New evidence which suggests home renovations are a prime suspect in a fresh asbestos epidemic that will kill tens of thousands of Australians. You had no reason at all to suspect that there was any danger in that house.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's killed our son.
Deep in Western Australia's Pilbara, we're on our way to where it all began. Ground Zero, the toxic asbestos town of Wittenoom. All the warnings about Wittenoom are very straightforward. Don't go. Now, the best advice we've got from all the experts is that if we do plan on going into the township, we should wear these coveralls and protective masks. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Governments are trying to wipe this place from the public's memory. Road signs are painted over. Most of the buildings bulldozed and buried. Power and water cut. Mountains of blue asbestos tailings blow across what was once a town of 20,000.
Well, we're currently driving up what looks like one of the main streets of Wittenoom. Most of the houses have been taken away. It's a very spooky place. You can tell it used to be a bustling community, but all too many of the people that lived and worked here died in the most horrific of circumstances. This is the location of one of the world's worst environmental health disasters. Perth's 1,000 kilometres that way, the East Coast cities are 2,000 kilometres that way. But if you think that the threat from asbestos is confined to remote places like this, think again.
The deadly asbestos dug out of the ground here half a century ago is killing afresh today.
It's a massacre, and it's an ongoing massacre.
The unwitting victims of this growing new wave of asbestos deaths are getting younger.
They couldn't believe what they were actually finding. They just couldn't connect that someone so young could have what they were finding.
Because we all associate asbestos disease with the elderly, don't we?
That's it. And he was 24.
Julie and Don Sager's son, Adam, was 18 months old when they renovated their first home in Townsville. Like many homes built before 1990, it was clad with asbestos sheeting inside and out, and little Adam played in the dust as they sanded and sawed the sheets.
He was walking under where we were sanding. Someone would be on a ladder.
Was he getting covered with dust?
Yeah. He had dust on him. We all had dust on us. He was as happy in his new home, sweeping up, helping, laughing, joking, giggling, just being a little boy.
And all the while?
Was just waiting to kill him.
The incurable asbestos cancer, mesothelioma, can take between 20 and 50 years to be diagnosed. Adam was 24, an athlete, a martial arts champion, when he went to the doctor with stomach pains. Little did Julie and Don realise their DIY renovations had contaminated their child. 22 years later, Adam learned he had mesothelioma.
How do you tell your son that he has terminal cancer?
Adam died 6 months after being diagnosed.
My immediate feeling was it's a parent's job to keep your children safe. And I felt we hadn't done that.
You realise you had no reason at all to suspect that there was any danger in that house, don't you?
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's killed our son.
Adam is one of the casualties in a fresh asbestos epidemic.
Initially, the cases we saw had worked at places like Whitnam, and they knew they'd worked with the blue asbestos. And then we saw people like plumbers and carpenters who'd cut it downstream from Whitnam. But now we're seeing a lot more of the so-called incidental exposure. We often can't identify any period where they were actually exposed to asbestos.
Dr. Bruce Robinson is a world authority on asbestos disease. He's developed the first blood test for high-risk patients that allows earlier detection of mesothelioma. Why does asbestos kill?
Asbestos, particularly blue asbestos, which is the most dangerous, penetrates the lungs and the cells like a spear, and in the process causes damage to the DNA. And over a period of many decades, that damage can become cancer. One fibre is the one that triggers just the changes in your DNA that cause cancer.
Asbestos products are so common, all Australians have at least 1 million fibres in our lungs. So where's that asbestos coming from?
Asbestos has been used in Australia for thousands of uses, thousands and thousands, and people say, I've never been exposed to asbestos. But it's been used in so many places that incidental exposure is common.
We get calls daily of people that they're renovating a home, renovating a bathroom, and their husband has cut into an asbestos cement sheet. And the wife will ring us and say, look, is he going to die?
Kevin O'Hare runs an asbestos testing laboratory. He despairs that too many Australians have a she'll-be-right attitude about asbestos in their homes. Do you think Australians understand just how much asbestos is still out there?
No, not in any way.
There's precious little research available here in Australia which allows the experts to say for sure just how dangerous it is to drill, cut or sand asbestos products. So we've commissioned Queensland laboratories to do some tests inside this enclosure on some typical home renovation scenarios. Now, we caution that what we're about to do would normally be illegal, but we've been given special permission to do what are the first scientific tests of their type here in Australia. We've built an airtight, pressurised chamber and a qualified asbestos removalist will cut the sheets. These are high-level precautions against an asbestos danger that home renovators are unwittingly facing every day. There's a huge amount of dust. This sampling device is sucking in the air right where a home renovator might be sanding or cutting a wall for painting. And the results are alarming. Under a microscope, magnified 400 times, javelins of asbestos. Toxic asbestos 32 times above the maximum safe levels. So there is a very real danger for something as benign as home renovation, accidentally sanding or cutting fibre cement asbestos.
Absolutely.
If you were exposed to that level of asbestos, what would you say?
I'd be very worried.
So what will you say to the wife or partner who calls into your office and says, "Is my husband going to die?"
Get out of the house, wash yourself off, and then allow somebody to get in there and have a look at the actual level of exposure.
It's that dangerous?
It's that dangerous. They would need to put themselves on the National Asbestos Register and to begin health surveillance.
There's even a danger of exposure in clearing a gutter off a fibro roof. But you can now test for asbestos.
If you're going to manipulate or to put friction onto any material, whether it be the lino, the Hessian carpet underlay, first thing is have it checked.
But Kevin, that's going to cost me money. I'll have to hire a bloke like you.
It's down to as low as $25 to have a test.
Ross, this is all our current files saw here.
Rose and Robert Vajakovic run the Asbestos Diseases Society. They have 2 sets of files in their offices. So how many people have you got on your books?
Well, in excess of 14,000.
These ones are for the living.
This is where we have all of the files of people who are closed. The files are closed.
What does that mean?
Well, unfortunately, in the main, it means that these people have passed away. This black dot on the file tells me that this person is no longer with us.
Now, many patients Rose sees are a mystery, requiring painstaking detective work.
We're looking here at the file of a lovely lady who has just passed away in the last 2 weeks. She came to us with absolutely no understanding of how she'd been exposed to asbestos. She actually didn't even really know what mesothelioma was.
Her name was Ethel, and like so many new patients, her asbestos exposure was a shock.
This is the wooden frame, and there's the only brick part of it is actually where the fireplace is.
Rose found the smoking gun in Ethel's family photo album. So that proves to you that the house was clad with asbestos?
If that house was built, say, in the 50s, it's all the blue asbestos from Whitnam Gorge. I must show, unfortunately, that we have lost her and that she's passed away, and that little sticker there tells me that she is now no longer with us.
How many black dots have you put on files?
Thousands. Thousands.
Troy was 26 when he actually passed away.
So young.
Yes. He was caring, gentle. He would do anything for his kids and for myself. He's always out there to help somebody else.
Troy, father of Brooke, Sky and Mason, passed away in 2007.
Brooke had a hard time at the beginning asking for Daddy back. When's Daddy coming back? Can we climb back up to heaven and bring him back again? But we talk about it often.
Not only was Troy a loving father, he was a team leader with the State Emergency Service. So respected, he was used in their promotional videos.
It's been absolutely fantastic just being recognised as a volunteer and show that the hard work and hard slog all pays off in the end, and that the people that do the work are being recognised.
Barely a year on from this interview, the father of 3 was fighting for his life, riddled with mesothelioma. Do you know how Troy was exposed?
Not at the moment, it's still getting investigated.
Did he ever work with asbestos?
Not directly that I'm aware of, no.
Did you make any promises?